Greetings and salutations, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Uh, Welcome back. Today we're going to be doing something a bit different. Today I will be reading to you The Nazis and the Supernatural, The Occult Secrets of Hitler's Evil Empire by Michael Fitzgerald. So, let me start by going over the contents of this book. And if any of this interests you, you can keep listening. I will be uploading more of this later. If you want to see more of this or, join in again when it comes up, be sure to like and subscribe. It's free. You can always unsubscribe later. It doesn't cost you anything. So, contents. There's the introduction. Chapter 1, The Dark Initiates. Chapter 2, The Vril Society. Chapter 3, A New Religion for Germany. Chapter 4, The New Teutonic Knights. Chapter 5, The Nazi Grail Castle. Chapter 6, Occult Reich. Chapter 7, In Search of Atlantis. Chapter 8, The Real Raiders of the Lost Ark. Chapter 9, Aryan Science in the Third Reich. And Chapter 10, Occultism at War. At the end, there is a conclusion, bibliography, index, and picture credits. Introduction. Adolf Hitler's impact on the world is unprecedented and unparalleled. In 12 short years, he left an indelible impact on history, and the consequences of many of his actions continue to affect the world today. Even during his lifetime, he was as much a myth as a human being, and with the increasing distance of years, his figure still fascinates to a unique degree. If anything, he has become even more like a cartoon villain than a real individual. Following the defeat of Germany in the Second World War, many people who have been enthusiastic Nazis rushed to denounce Hitler and to deny or minimize their own part in the regime. The safely dead Hitler and to a lesser extent Himmler were all blamed for the excesses of barbarity of the regime in a mass process of collective denial of guilt and individual responsibility that remains a unique phenomenon in human history. There are several ways of interpreting historical events and the processes, and particularly the career of Hitler and the extraordinary period of the Nazi ascendancy. Hitler himself subscribed to Carlyle's The Great Man theory and saw himself as a heroic figure who had taken charge of the destiny of Germany and sought to place it on the path to greatness. Many of his contemporaries agreed with that estimate and broadly saw Hitler in those terms. According to the Marxist interpretation of events, Hitler was simply a pawn who was manipulated into power to serve the interests of a desperate capitalist class and prevent the possibility of a communist takeover in Germany. His policies were nothing more than capitalism applied with exceptional brutality. My bad, I misread. I do that a lot frequently. If you hear me stumble over something, my apologies. And Hitler himself, nothing more than a tool of big business. It was largely the level of unemployment within Germany that gave Hitler his chance. Conservative interpretations of Hitler and the Nazis tend to stress the sense of national humiliation following the Treaty of Versailles, the occupation of the Ruhr, and the shared sense of national failure. By giving the Germans back a feeling of collective self-confidence, pride in their nation and themselves, a revived sense of community, and the promise of renewed greatness, Hitler won their support and was able to make himself master of Germany. In recent years, what might be called technical explanations have become more common. These theories stress the ability of Hitler and Goebbels to use propaganda. Hitler's power as a public speaker, the relative youth of the Nazi leadership, and Hitler's cynical attempt to project an image of sex appeal to women voters as the principal reasons for his success. There are also various psychological explanations for Hitler's temporary triumph. His ability to tune into the collective feelings of a nation, his capacity for rousing the emotions of a mass audience, and his uncanny genius for diagnosing people's strengths and weaknesses have all been put forward to account for the Nazi phenomenon. A variation of the psychological analysis approach is the range of theories putting forward an occult explanation for Nazism. Such ideas were first put forward as early as the 1930s, but it was with the astonishing success of Pauwels and Bergier's The Morning of the Magicians in the 1960s that they entered popular consciousness and became fashionable. A number of writers followed their example, some engaging in a serious analysis of the extent to which the occult factors did or did not play a significant part in the regime, and others in little more than fantastic speculation. There is, of course, some truth in all of the proposed explanations for Hitler's remarkable success. Without the dire economic position of Germany from 1929 to 1933, it is doubtful whether Hitler would have ever come to power. The sense of national humiliation within Germany was undoubtedly profound, but it could have been appealed to equally by a more conventional nationalist politician such as Stresemann demonstrated in the 1920s. The ability of Goebbels to manipulate public opinion through propaganda is also unquestionable, as is Hitler's power as a rabble-rouser and his awareness of and capacity for appealing to the collective feelings of a nation. All of these factors certainly played an important part in his success, and yet the extent to which Nazism was a unique phenomenon remains. Stalin, Mao, and other dictators were equally ruthless and homicidal, but even at their worst, there was a core of logic behind their actions. Only Pol Pot among tyrants displayed the same degree of utter insanity and destructiveness, which is perhaps why he is the only dictator regarded with similar loathing. Hitler's irrationality permeated every aspect of his life. His ideas and the manner in which Nazi Germany functioned once he came to power. His obsessional racism went far beyond simple prejudice, and his policies of genocide continued until the last possible moment in spite of the far more urgent demands of war. Hitler's frequently expressed contempt for rationality and science was hardly a helpful attitude in terms of restoring Germany to a position of greatness. His known belief in Horbiger's glacial cosmology was at least partially responsible for losing the war in Russia. During the final stages of the war, he and Goebbels examined the horoscope of Germany to find a magical reprieve from the defeat through the position of the stars in the heavens. Many historians ignore, dismiss, or downplay these aspects of Hitler and the regime when faced with the exaggerated claims of some writers that Hitler and the Nazis were practicing Satanists who were overwhelmingly motivated by occult considerations. It is difficult not to sympathize, but such an analysis of the Third Reich and its leader is not remotely plausible. On the other hand, to regard the occult aspects of the regime as of no importance or even as total fabrications is equally to be guilty of a flawed, superficial, and inaccurate picture. Occult factors and ideas undoubtedly entered into the thoughts and actions of Hitler and other Nazi leaders. They were certainly not the most important considerations in determining policy and decisions, but all the same they played a part. The Nazi occult war separates fact from fiction, myth from reality, and examines to what extent occult factors affected Hitler and the Third Reich. The results of this analysis may well surprise both the fantasists and the doubters. All right, picking up part 2, we will start on chapter 1, The Dark Initiates. See you then.